he used hatred of the Bosnian Muslims in the part of Yugoslavia then called Kosovo to whip up Yugoslavian nationalist fervor, religious and nationalist fervor. The fact that it might lead to a civil war and hundreds of thousands of civilians would be dead in a couple of years doesn't matter, or maybe he just didn't think that far. But we can see so many signs right now. I saw a really good clip from Owen Schroyer last night. A white lady on a bus just getting harassed for being white and not wearing a mask. This is the kind of thing at a social level that you see before genocides. Genocides don't happen because, some Hollywood dictator orders his Hollywood military to do some terrible, awful thing. First, there's a period of years where the government and the media, working hand in glove, they do a psychological preparation of the population to blame all the society's ills on a scapegoat class. That's what we're seeing right now in the United States of America. And unfortunately, white Christians are that scapegoat class. We're seeing it very clearly after the Capitol incursion. I would not call it an insurrection. You can see what a massive gaslight this entire thing has been, calling it an armed insurrection. And they asked the assistant FBI director yesterday, were there any arms? Were any firearms recovered? No. The closest thing to a weapon is Q Shaman's flagpole with kind of a little artistic spear point on the end of the flagpole. And that guy is in jail. Alex and I was also on that show with Owen. We interviewed him 2 days after January 6th. And I just checked that video's had 900,000 views. Q Shaman was at the time just still talking about his, spacey, magnetic field theories and all of this stuff. Well, let me tell you, that dude is in jail to this day. They are not letting him out of jail. He may never get out of jail. And there are a lot of other people that walked into the Capitol and are in jail to this day. This thing that happened with the fence today, the Congress actually fled town, like they were expecting, the ghost of Timothy McVeigh to charge through all the fences. At least that's what they're trying to portray. This is a massive gaslighting operation. What they'll say now that nothing happens today, March 4th, the true inauguration of Trump, according to the absolute Q-tards of the diehard Q-tards. Now that nothing is going to happen, they're going to say, that nothing happened only because we had all the walls and fences up, all the National Guard troops on high alert, and since Congress fled, they weren't going to do it. But because it didn't happen, it just shows that they were going to plan it. That's why we left, so that's why they didn't do it. You see, it's circular logic. So now Congress is asking the military for a 60-day extension. This reminds me of 2 weeks to flatten the curve. The 60-day extension is just going to go on forever. Because what's happening is a massive gaslighting of the American people to create this false narrative that Trump voters, that MAGA voters, are all potential dangerous domestic terrorists. We've heard this from John Brennan, who is extremely deeply connected still to the CIA to this day. He still has his security clearance. Gina Haspel is his chosen successor. And she is the director of CIA. She was the London station chief all during the Russiagate hoax, when they were running these operations with Stephen Halper and others against Papadopoulos and Carter Page. She is an integral part of the entire Russiagate hoax. She was deeply involved in the CIA rendition program. That's black bagging prisoners. Well, we're going to continue this on the other side.
We're shooting this on the evening of Monday, March 1st, 2021. And in just 6 days, this Saturday, the biggest sale ever on storable food is going to end. Because of the ice storms and the problems around the country, our big supplier, highest quality storable food at the lowest price, My Patriot, is giving us the best deal ever. Free shipping on all of their storable food. That's a big cost of storable food is the shipping because it weighs a lot. And 10% off on top of it. You won't see this deal come along for a long, long time. You've got until this Saturday, the 6th of March, 2021, and then contractually they have to end the sale because they have hundreds of distributors. They're getting mad that we're undercutting the price, and they decided to do this. So it's exclusively available. There's a few days left at InfoWarsStore.com or PrepareWithAlex.com. Takes you right to specials. All their food, all their packages, 1 month, 6 months a year. It's all PrepareWithAlex.com. Take advantage of it now, and it funds the InfoWar. Humanity has been domesticated by and large. The population has been trained to submit, do what you're told, and it's all going to pass. But if you study authoritarians, if you study the globalists, you understand that they reach a point where all the training is just beta, and you go into the point of being culled, being totally enslaved. And because the globalists see us as weak and see us as stupid, they are now making that move. And they are collapsing the third world with their economic weapons to then flood us with a third world that the UN will use as a weapon to then have us under such a crisis, under such a load, capitulate to the UN, whatever agreements they want us to sign, hoping that they will stop the flood of tens of millions of refugees, not fleeing COVID or climate change, as the UN and Klaus Schwab are saying, and Bill Gates is saying, but fleeing the year-long lockdowns that the UN and Bill Gates ordered them to institute, or they wouldn't get more IMF and World Bank money. And that's why we have to really get educated about the globalists. My enemies are your enemies. They're the globalists. They're the exterminists. They are a consortium of mad scientists, pedophiles, control freaks, devil worshippers, vampires, whatever you want to call them, that are highly predatory and are setting up a false fantasyland system of constant bombardment of propaganda, drugs, and electromagnetic radiation to change the very DNA of the human species, to mutate us into a form that they can control like a pawn on a chessboard. The bottom line is they want to play God. They are playing God, and the noose is only going to tighten around our necks from here on out. So many other people want to be positive. They want to put out fake news and want to only cover limited amounts of what's happening with the New World Order. But at the end of the day, it's all about depopulation. It's all about world government. It's all about the end of the human system as we know it. And on its ashes, a nightmare being built. Only admitting it can turn it around and stop it. Listeners ask me all the time, why do you have multiple multivitamins? Why do you have multiple high-quality iodines? Why do you do that? Because different strokes for different folks. If we're talking to researchers and scientists and they say, hey, a lot of people love Deep Earth Pure Crystal Iodine, but you should put one out with Deep Earth Crystal Iodine and the two other types because some people can't absorb pure iodine. Boom, we did it. It's popular. It's X3. Is it better than X2? You decide. It's different strokes for different folks. Well, now we have a complement to knock out our very popular powdered pill sleep aid, and that is Down and Out. It's super strong, way stronger than Knockout, but they don't compete with each other. Different strokes for different folks, different formulas, and it's 40% off out of the gates at InfoWarsStore.com and free shipping. Secure your Down and Out today, and while you're sleeping, you know you're funding the InfoWar at the same time. Down and Out, exclusively available at InfoWarsStore.com for 40% off and free shipping.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. The answer to 1984 is 1776. It's Matt Bracken. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
You know, as far as getting my books without using Amazon, which I feel like a collaborator. I feel pretty dirty. But I even have a post office box. I actually get not only old-fashioned snail mail checks, I get FRNs wrapped in aluminum foil, with no return address on the label all the time, and I totally understand it. So that is an option. And the books you get from me, I'll sign and inscribe. Well, as long as I'm able. We are heading off the cliff on the crazy train. There's no doubt about it. As I've said forever, the only thing that you can really do to adjust the odds doesn't mean you can win, but being a smart card counter in Las Vegas, you can at least shave the odds. And that means get to a conservative state with a conservative governor in a conservative county all the way up and down the line. If you are even near a big Democrat-run city, you're in danger, because there's no question now that the big push that's on is toward a race war. The cultural Marxists invented something that we're all familiar with by now called critical race theory. But even to use those three words, to use those terms, is to mold your own thinking by the enemy's propaganda. Critical race theory should be called communist race theory, because it was invented by the Frankfurt School professors, these communists in Germany that came over to Columbia University in New York and then spread their poison throughout American universities and colleges for the next 70 years until today. It's pervading all the way down to kindergarten. So instead of calling it critical race theory, call it communist race theory. That's what it is. It became obvious by the 60s and 70s that as an economic theory, communism was a bust. But the Frankfurt School, the Gramscians, the Fabian Society, these guys didn't just quit and say, hey, I guess I'll just go back to being a capitalist. No, they still hate Western civilization. They're driven by hate. They want to destroy what is good. They want to just pull down every cathedral and temple and turn it to rubble, because they are absolutely driven by hate. And since they couldn't convert the world to communist economic theory, they shifted tactics, and they look at any society for their weak points, and in America, it's race. So that's why identity politics is a thing. It's just the latest tool of the communists to wreck our society. But when you look at the numbers, how can there be a race war where, for example, only 13% or so of the population is black and still more than half is white? How is that going to work? The people that are behind this are pure evil. They know that there's going to be a white backlash, and they welcome it. They are playing chess a few steps ahead of the average couch potato, and they know that this white backlash is going to be all the excuse they need to institute the most harsh and strict Stalinist style of controls in our country. This fencing off of Washington, D.C. is just one little indicator. When people are saying, wow, that's so unusual. I mean, how long can that last? It's such a surprise. Michael Yon had a great piece. Michael Yon Dispatches. He's a former Special Forces guy who has been a war correspondent for more than 20 years now. He says, if your paradigm keeps bringing you to surprises, if you keep being surprised, then you need to adjust your paradigm until your new paradigm fits the reality around you. And only then can you start to project and model successfully